Welcome back. You're watching a KTN News Desk, and we continue to take a look at the Jubilee Scorecard, that interministerial symposium. Let's talk to Sahil Shah now from the Strathmore University to just get into this a little bit more. Now, you heard from our previous guest, the PS in the Ministry of Energy, and we're hearing the Treasury saying, the economy is on track. We're moving in the right direction. This comes against the backdrop of a survey that was released earlier this week on Sunday, and Kenyans feel like the country is going in the wrong direction. Where is the disconnect between what the government is telling us today and how Kenyans really perceive this, or whether it's trickling down to the ground?
Good afternoon. I think it's interesting that you point out that poll, because there was a counter poll in the Star newspaper that said that Kenya is actually going in the right direction. And I think the divergence between the two is actually quite a good reflection of the sentiment in Kenyan society. People are confused. I mean, on one hand, we're looking at a globe-trotting president who's going around the world bringing investment here. We've seen massive conferences being held in Kenya, and as PS Juma said, we've got Kenyans who are heading some of the biggest world organizations.
Right.
I mean, that's stuff that we should be proud of.
Yeah.
But at the same time, cost of living, it has not improved substantially. The PS for Energy mentioned the
reduction in the fuel cost.
Yes. And it's interesting he says that, because the experts are saying, and there's been various statistics that have said that it hasn't made much of a difference.
Because he's talking about a 25% reduction in the cost of electricity, I think between 20 and 30%, ranging from individual customers to those in the manufacturing
business,
sector.
Yes.
So that would be a huge reduction that Kenyans would start to feel. I mean, surely Kenyans, can't be not seeing all of these great things that are happening in the economy.
I think with a lot of these things, it's very long term, and it's part of the Jubilee's medium term plan, which was the plan set out based on their manifesto for the period of 2013 to 2017, so just before the next elections. And if you look at that medium-term plan, there's a big emphasis on reducing business costs, improving the viability of business in Kenya. And energy is at the heart of it, because you have international companies who are coming to Kenya because of skilled labor, because of energy costs, and moreover, because this is a regional hub. The fact that energy costs can go down is a good sign. If the Ministry of Energy continues to push for this, and hopefully we can see grassroots reductions in this, so that local Kenyans in the regional areas can see an improvement in cost, then you can get a more mobilization behind it, so that we can
from the citizens,
which is one of the biggest problems we're having. Grassroots mobilization for most of our activities in government.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about some of these projects. Do you think we were over ambitious? We're talking about energy to have 5,000 megawatts in the grid by 2017. There's also the standard gauge railway that they say today is 70% complete. The economy is rebounding, expected growth of 6%. But in some of the many projects that were promised for the medium term between 2013 and 2017, were we over ambitious a little bit?
I think that's been quite a salient feature of the Jubilee administration, and over promising and under delivering is always a very grey area to be in, because the speeches of our president have been quite fiery with regards to corruption, with regards to fighting insecurity, but when we come to the delivery of these aspects, it falls short somewhat.
What do you think is the challenge, Sahil, with delivering what they promised? What has held them back?
I think the biggest challenge is over-promising, because it's not about the delivery. We have seen very good advancements by this government. No one can actually doubt that. We do hear politicking all over the place, but this government has done some very good things. The problem comes when they over-promise, so they step farther than what their ability actually is. And when you consider this whole moment, perspective is very important here. I mean, with regards to the economy, we can't just see Kenya as a mutually exclusive economy from the world. The dollar has been weakened. The Chinese economy has shrunk. That has all affected the Kenyan economy. And moreover, we've had a new constitution. This period of transition is an incredibly difficult time.
Right, and fairly expensive as well in terms of implementing. Yeah.
And so, with regards to that, the Jubilee government has made some very good strides. But it's when they come to over-promising, it is part of electoral politics. It is part of trying to stay in power, of course. But they must be wary of over-promising and under-delivering.
And under-delivering, yeah. Let's talk about corruption for a moment, because that seems to be one of those things that's a big challenge, and you've talked about it, that the president, has spoken out quite heavily on it. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Chair estimates that a third of our budget is lost to corruption, which is about 600 billion shillings. And then we hear now that, we've taken a precautionary loan from the IMF at about 151 billion shillings. I mean, to put it in really simple mathematics, and I'm being a little simplistic here, Sahil, so allow me. So you have 600 billion that's lost from the economy due to corruption, and here we are taking a precautionary loan for 151 billion. The math doesn't add up.
It is interesting, and it's something that comes up all the time. The fact that we wouldn't need to borrow had we stamped down on corruption. But what we must remember is that corruption is a feature in governments perceived to be much more advanced than we are. And that's not a justification of it, of course. But what I'm trying to say is that it is very important to make sure that there are enough reserves if there's an economic crisis.
Absolutely.
Because for someone like President Kenyatta, however much he personally wants to fight corruption, this is a system that has been entrenched for about 50 years of our own history. And to do so is, of course, a mammoth task, something I'm sure he is capable of, and his government is capable of.
Where do you, just in under a minute, because we're out of time, where do you see the country going? Where do you hope it should go? If you were advising the president right now and all of these cabinet secretaries, what would your advice be in terms of getting Kenya, going on the right track?
I mean, I'm very optimistic about our country, but there's a point in the medium-term plan of the Jubilee government that was rolled out for 2013 to 2017, and it was a new point that was added. It was building national values and ethics, and I find that's at the heart of most of our problems in this country, along with reconciliation. So building nationalism, building an ethic, that would provide an incredibly good foundation from which to start to recover some of these issues that have been plaguing us for about 50 years.
Right, yeah, good place to start. Thank you very much for that. Sometimes we don't always make that connection between ethics and values and the economy and the growth of that. So thanks for pointing that out, Sahil Shah.